Joining me now on set is retired four-star General Jack Keane, Fox News senior strategic analyst and chairman of the Institute for the Study of War. General, great to have you with us in the studio today. Good to see you as always. Let's look at the big picture. We just watched John Kirby talk about the movements of the Russian military and what we're sending, what we're not sending. Things are on the way, haven't arrived yet. Give us the big picture. What is the mission here? What's the U.S. strategy right now?
Yeah, this is a great question. I think fundamentally the United States' underlying strategy in dealing with the war before it began and after it began is not to provoke Putin. It's an unstated strategy, but it is operating every single day. Before the war, we delayed armaments to Putin in March and in the fall of 21. They didn't get the Stingers until January of 22. We came up with this lame idea of doing sanctions only if there was an invasion as opposed to before the invasion. Again, not to provoke Putin. All of those are not to provoke Putin. And the reason is fear of adverse consequence. And then since the war began, no one expected the Russians to perform so poorly and the Ukrainians to actually beat them in ground combat. And they have. And now there's actually an advantage, an opportunity to win. There's a chance to win. It's not a given. And we have no strategy to do that. Why? Because we don't want to provoke Putin. I don't like saying this, but the facts are we don't want Putin to lose. We don't want Putin to lose because we're afraid that if he loses, there will be a provocative reaction on his part. So it explains why we're not all in on helping Zelensky win, who is begging for all of that help. And where is the statement from the president? He's had many opportunities since the war turned to Ukraine's favor. Listen, our mission in Ukraine now is to help the Ukrainians defeat the Russian army and crush them. And by the way, there's no better deterrence for the NATO countries than for the Russian army to be crushed in Ukraine. And we're going to give him everything he needs to see this through. There's no guarantee. Where is that conversation and those statements? We are hiding behind the fact that Putin, there's palpable fear in this administration that if Putin loses, he'll do something horrible.
But if he wins, won't he do something more?
Yeah. We believe that. I certainly believe that. I certainly believe at some point he would encroach on NATO. Listen, what the administration has got to get their head around is war is fundamentally a test of wills. And leaders have got to step up and overcome their fear of adverse consequence. And then they have to find the spine to have the perseverance to deal with all the obstacles and all the impediments that are in their way, preventing them from succeeding. And a lot of that has to do with who you are. Mostly what's in your heart is what I'm talking about here. And we just don't seem to have it. And that's why Zelensky is so frustrated. And I believe, because I had a great source that told me that up to 2 weeks ago, the administration was pressing Zelensky to make a deal, cut a deal, when he's doing counterattacks, when he's pushing the Russians back, when whole Russian units are being decimated. We're asking him to cut a deal. Can you imagine his frustration when he got that phone call?
Yeah. So you're saying that the dynamics started to change, Russia started to lose, and Zelensky started to have an edge, and we didn't change our reaction to that reality.
No. And we're not listening to him. Now he wants tanks. What does he want tanks? He doesn't want tanks to stop a Russian assault. He wants tanks to lead in a counteroffensive, to take territory back, to destroy Russian units. He wants the MiGs to provide cover for him in doing that. And he wants the air defense systems to protect those MiGs who are supporting those ground attacks that he's conducting. And he's getting none of it.
That sends a pretty clear message. And as you say, you believe that this administration is okay with Putin not losing, essentially. They're okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
They flatly are on that path. They don't want him to lose, and they want a deal. And it's such a lost opportunity. And where is the passion rising out of you watching thousands of people being killed and literally murdered by this barbarism that's on display by the Russian army? Let's go out there and destroy that barbarism once and for all. And Zelensky has the will to do it, and his troops have got the skill and the will. Give him the means to do it, and also give him the moral support. I mean, where's the pat on the back? Tell him, look, we're here. We're with you. What else do you need?
General Jack Keane, thank you very much.
You're
Good
welcome.
to have you with us, sir.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.